30 years ago, Mariah Carey released her third studio album, Music Box. The album would go on to sell over 20 million records and spawn five hit singles. Today, I'm giving flowers to an album that changed Mariah Carey's career and an album that sent her into the stratosphere. Let's talk about Music Box. This album is so pivotal in her just journey as an artist, just going to a more ballad version of Mariah Carey. This album was released in '93. I was 3 years old at the time, but this is the Mariah Carey that I was first introduced to. Like, this is the first Mariah Carey that I remember. This is the high notes, just her and the piano, just real ballad records. Looking back at how it was perceived and her goal with the album, she wanted to just broaden her horizons. You know, like Mariah was always great with bridging hip hop songs, R&B, and pop with like beautiful vocals. I felt like on the first song, Dream Lover, which has the Ain't No Half Steppin', Big Daddy Kane sample, for those that didn't know. 30 years later, if you didn't know that. Dream Lover is one of Mariah Carey's biggest records ever. But it doesn't fit with this album at all to me. Like, I feel like Dream Lover, they put it at #1 as track 1 to get you like reeled in, just to give you some of the piece of like, I wouldn't even say old Mariah Carey, because there's only 3 albums in, but just that hip hop feel. But the rest of it is strictly ballads, except I guess you could say Now That I Know and I've Been Thinking About You are only the 3 upbeat records on here. And I feel like they stand out like sore thumbs. Although they're great, I feel like they don't really fit, but it's still classic records. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're still great records. I think Hero, to be totally transparent, I think Hero was the first Mariah Carey song I remembered as a kid. I feel like it was sung at graduations. I seen it on TV. Like, it was like the biggest Mariah Carey song to me. Like, that's the one that I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's Mariah Carey. Like, even watching videos, that's Mariah Carey. The subjects that's talked about on this album is even great. Recently, listening back to it, listen to Anytime You Need a Friend, it got me thinking like, damn, why don't they make friend records anymore? Like, nobody talks about how great their friends are or how they have their friends back, or, you know, just when you're feeling down, I'm there to pick you up type of thing to your friend. I thought that was just great. And to followed after Hero, I thought was just awesome sequencing. She stepped out of, because, you know, Mariah Carey's an awesome writer and producer, with the help of Walter, I cannot pronounce his last name, I don't know. I'm not even going to butcher it. But that was like her main collaborator, producer, help writer at the time. She stepped out and even had a song written by Babyface. And when I was younger listening to this album, I couldn't pick up on it that it was written by Babyface. But listening back to it, I knew it immediately because it sounded similar to the Boyz II Men record, End of the Road. The way the production builds up, like when the hook comes in, it even sounds like, although we go, like, it sounds extremely like that. Some things I also appreciate about this album is the incorporating gospel background vocals. You'll get records like Live Without You and Now That I Know, and you'll get those gospel background vocals. Even on Now That I Know, you get these gospel background vocals on, like, to me, is like a house record. Like, it's up tempo, dun, 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 dun. Like, it has that house music feel to it. Just when 90s had that up tempo house vibe to a bunch of the 90s hip hop records and R&B records, it just be upbeat dancing, but it'll have this soul feel to it. I thought was great. I was reading before I did this review, because I like to look at what critics thought about the album when it came out. I love when critics when critics are wrong, including myself. Like, I love when critics are wrong, when you, like, how they'll bash like a Sgt. Pepper or any album back then. I think music critics were overcritical when artists made a shift. Like, they were way more overcritical than they are today. So, like I mentioned, when this album came out, it's very ballad driven. And I'll say myself, this is not my favorite Mariah Carey album. The Mariah Carey that I love is more the blend of my Mariah Carey that I love is like Honey, or the Emancipation of Mimi. Those are like the Mariah Carey that I love. The fantasy Mariah Carey. You know what I mean? Just blending that hip hop and R&B, because she's, besides Mary J. Blige, Mary J. Blige is more R&B, so it has to be hip hop. Kinda has to live in there somewhere. But Mariah Carey is like pop, R&B. Like, she merged that hip hop sound to pop music. And truth be told, you can credit Mariah Carey for helping expand hip hop to a larger culture. But with this album, she like scaled it back, and it was just ballads. And I was thinking like, damn, is this Mariah Carey's best album? Because it sold the most. It's close to 30 million records sold. And I was trying to figure out, why is this one the one that like connected to everyone, right? And only thing I could really come up with is that when you do those ballads, especially in the 90s, like, let's say, like, even like a what's my girl name, Celine Dion type thing, or Whitney Houston, it just expands to a broader audience. Like, so even incorporating the house music, that could work overseas. Or Hero, I think the ballads is a reason why the album just connected so much to everyone. Also, the subject matter, back to the subject matter, when a hero comes along, or Now That I Know, having feelings for a friend, wanting a friend to be more than a friend, or Dream Lover, Come Rescue Me. It's these subjects that it's relatable to everyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just this section of people could listen to it or grasp it, or this section of people can grasp it. Everybody understands love. Everybody has those connections in a way, or had those feelings in a way. And so, along with the ballad aspect of it, and Mariah Carey being just an amazing vocalist, that I think that propelled it to just astronomical heights. You know what I mean? Also, we have to acknowledge, we don't give credit to a lot of women writers, especially artists. You know what I mean? Like, Mariah Carey pen is insane. To think that I've read today that on her debut album, they were reworking songs that she wrote in high school. That just shows how great her pen is. Like, a great songwriter. We don't talk about how great of a songwriter Mariah Carey is. Like, we talk about the vocals, we talk about the hits, but we rarely give credence to her pen. Like, man, listen to Hero. Like, Hero is like God level, pen level, R&B pop level shit that, like, you just don't see every day, especially now. And this was 93. She wrote it in 92. I just think that's something that we should acknowledge more, and it's just great. You know what I mean? Well, let's get into some of my favorite songs on here. Some of my favorite songs on here, obviously, Hero, Never Forget You, and Dream Lover. Like, Dream Lover is a song I remember just hearing sitting in the back seat, even at 3 years old. I know, like, some people are like, but you were 3, what you? Like, I remember, like, my mom listening to Dream Lover, and again, Hero being played of, like, this congratulatory, like, settings. I'm not even sure if that was a word. It is today. The one downfall, not downfall, because it's fucking so close to 30 million records. Fuck, my opinion really don't matter. But, like, I'll go back to one of my gripes with the album is that it has, like, the upbeat songs. The upbeat songs kind of take me out of the. Listening to it recently, it takes me out of the feel of the album, even though they're great songs. Not Dream Lover, though. Keep that in there. 30 years later, which is crazy, this album still holds up. It still sounds amazing to this day. The mixing on it sounds great. I know today they released like a 30-year anniversary repackaging, and they remastered the album. I'm eager to hear how that one sounds, but even listening to it today, giving it the car test, it still sounded amazing. It still sounded good with the mixing and mastering they had in 1993. So with that being said, I don't want to go on too long. Let me know in the comments, do you think Music Box held up 30 years later? 2, do you think this is Mariah Carey's best album? And 3, what memories do you have attached to this album? Like, let me know. Let's discuss that. What's the memories? That's why I love doing this channel. I'll just pause right here for a second. That's why I love doing this channel. I want to connect with you guys and girls to talk about what this music meant to you. Like, I get more enjoyment in the comments talking to people about where were they when this album came out, or when they heard this song, or the memories they had tied to it. Like I said, my mom playing this, or, you know, like, what's a memory you have tied to Mariah Carey's Music Box album? I didn't even talk about Music Box, the song, the self-titled, the song Music Box, which I think is just amazing. Like, I understand why that's probably the best written song on the album. So let me know that in the comments. What does the album mean to you 30 years later? Mariah, I'm not sure if you're on YouTube. If you see this, I just want to let you know this album still held up. You're one of the greatest. You're one of the best vocalists I ever heard. This album, man, this album was just great and still is to this day. This is the flowers to you. This is the flowers to Music Box. This is just, yeah, that's it. This is just for you. Thank you for making this album and just the hard work you put in it, just to contribute something to the ecosystem of life. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure Hero has made a lot of people's lives. You know what I mean? And that's all you can ask for with the music, you know? Like, make something that stands the test of time, make something that's meaningful, make something that's going to change people's lives. And this is an album that I think clears the board on all that. So, flowers from Mariah Carey, Music Box. I'm Tatum. Peace.